Okay, I think we are live, Adrian.
Hey, fantastic.
Right, for the first time.
Yeah.
Played with the tech on the weekend. We're doing this via StreamYard, which is really cool. It's such a great tool.
Because we've gone live to several different channels and different things, YouTube and LinkedIn, FB.
Yes, correct. So I'm just going to remove this. We've got stuff coming up here. Remove this destination from the broadcast. It's done. Save changes. Okay, right. So we're learning on the fly here.
Yeah.
But as it's life these days.
Yeah.
Right?
A bit of IQ, bit of EQ. Bit of
there you go.
Straight into it, mate.
I need all cues right now.
Straight into it.
Yeah, this is what it's not the fuck you.
So I might give you a cue.
Well, maybe now it's appropriate to say fuck you.
Yeah.
Right? All right. So, and look, we're playing, guys, about having some music that's kind of like we're gonna think of a theme song.
Yeah, we got to get a new theme, haven't we, for Cat?
We need a theme for Cat.
Yeah.
You know, I know we've got a bit of a Top Gun thing that goes on now and then.
Top Cat thing.
Top Cat thing, right? Yeah. So
any musers out there want to write us a little bit of an intro, maybe, a cat intro.
Right. Anybody's got any suggestions? The odd joke and snipe and whatever, go for it. So anyway, I'm going to pull that back.
Yeah.
We are talking about today
emotional intelligence.
EQ. They call it,
Wow.
apparently.
Yeah, because you think it'd be EI, wouldn't you? Emotional intelligence.
Well,
that's
that's
not
what
EI. It's like EQ.
That's the acronym.
Pretty confusing to me.
EQ
For my little brain, it's a bit
Is it
confusing.
Your little brain? What about mine? God. So yeah, EQ and
Wow.
physiology.
Now, how are you going to bring that together? Because this is your data. I'm going to pass.
I get all the easy ones.
I'm going to pass this over to Tommy. A bit of EQ.
Yeah, it's like the
physiology.
body. It's like all these sort of like esoteric kind of combinations to something that's tangible.
Yeah. Oh, that
Makes it interesting.
That's the easy part. The esoteric.
Because it's esoteric. Yeah, you can just look, well, and go, well, actually, no, this is the physical form and this is the body.
So you've got to prove it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Esoteric is no proving. It's
That's
all
not fair.
Feeling and knowing.
Jeez, I got to measure it.
Yeah.
I got to measure it and prove it and show that it's tangible.
Yeah, mate, yeah.
But the world is moving into a non-tangible space though, right now.
I've been in there for 30 years.
Have you?
So you want test results?
Right. Well, I'm just kind of peering in.
I know it's true.
You know it's true.
I feel it.
Well, is it? Well, that's what it's about, right?
I trust it. I feel it. I know it.
You believe it when you see it, or you see it when you believe it.
My teacher used to say, Adrian, when you can know, you can know.
Can know.
Yeah, you know.
Right.
Know with a K.
Right. Okay. You know it's a silent K, right?
Yeah. When you can know, you can know.
So when you can know, you can know. Well, that's the thing. Hey, and some people need some tangible proof to get there, and others don't need it to get there.
Yeah. Because I trust that implicitly in myself. Right. If I experience something and it feels right, I know it's true for me. Yeah.
Right.
I don't need, to read it in the newspaper or some magazine to know it's true. It's like, well, I knew that 30 years ago.
Right.
And they've just spent $3 million on the research, and now they're telling me it's true.
Right.
Well, I knew that 30 years ago. So that's
save yourself $3 million, but that's okay. Go and spend the money.
Yeah.
Just come to the same conclusion. You should have had faith. Your lack of faith cost you $3 million. Are you happy now?
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Just know it.
Just know. Yeah.
So Tommy, let's take that question. Let's take the idea of emotional intelligence. Because last week we spoke about intelligence.
Oh, hang on. Before we do, we're in a new paradigm. We're in
a new studio. We're in a new studio.
We're in a new studio, which is we're not on the balcony. It's too windy, and the sun and the angle, and it got too hard today.
We didn't get the light, did we?
We couldn't get the light right. Yeah.
But we're going to let some light in today, aren't we?
We're going to let some light in today.
Let some light in today.
All right. So, sorry. Back to it.
Yeah.
Just want to explain why we're in a different setting.
Yeah, just in case you just see the ocean behind
us. Just a little bit beyond the subtitles and ticker and everything else we're playing with
how
right
about
now.
that? We got the
Is that good?
It's happening.
Dude,
we're getting
fire.
Professional.
Yeah, we are. We're stepping up the game,
Yeah, we are.
right? Technologically, and we're feeding out to about 3 or 4 different social networks. We're still waiting for our LinkedIn Live account to get approved. That's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
In fact, when we do, we haven't spoken about this yet, so here it is.
I love getting this live.
Is it right?
By the way, Adrian, I've got this idea.
I got this idea.
But I'm going to wait till you're live so you can actually argue with me.
Yeah, so you can go, yes, what a great idea, Tommy, and then we'll just bitch about it after, right?
Give it to me.
Right, here it comes. So I was thinking, right, if you're up for it, that we may, and in fact, we've kind of talked about it before anyway, right? So I'm not like going right out there and leaving you, sort of.
You've already hinted.
I warmed up to how about it, and you weren't aggressively sort of like pushing back. So I thought, oh, good, it's done then. That means yes.
Yeah, not
right?
as good as we.
Exactly right. So I was thinking, maybe we're going to do a lunchtime show, and maybe we give it a crack for about a week, 4 weeks, bringing it to lunchtime, Australian Eastern Standard Time.
Because we spoke about, haven't we?
We've
the
spoken
set
about
time,
it, right?
Midday show.
Yeah.
I think I said before when I was doing another TV show on another channel,
right,
for Spiritual Events Directory.
Right.
18 months, every Thursday, midday.
You said?
Yeah, for nearly a year and a half. And I was getting...
That's hardcore, dude.
1,500 followers.
1,500 followers.
A week. Yeah,
that's sensational.
In the 7 days.
Right. Okay, we're going to crack 1,500 now.
Yeah.
I reckon we can knock that off.
Because as we know, if people know we're there at midday or whatever time we choose, every week, same time, same back channel, people then come in and like, oh yeah, that's right, Tommy and Adrian, midday, can't miss it, it's the highlight of the week. They're going to be in there, they won't want to miss the TNA show.
The TNA show, right. So I think we give it a crack. And 12:30 p.m. we're thinking, guys.
Really?
Okay.
I love the Royal Wedding.
All right. So
12:30 sounds perfect, mate. High five.
Rope me in. Rope me in.
I don't feel like I've had my arm twisted.
Right? Bloody hell.
Okay. It's a great time, mate. Good idea.
What do you think? I was
great bit of EQ going on there.
This is a team. Can't you tell?
Teamwork.
So all right. So there we are. 12:30. We
12:30 Monday.
12:30
Friday.
Monday and Friday. Yeah. We may even look at going through the week.
Oh, okay. That's a big tall order.
Right, it's a tall order. Yeah. So maybe we try it Monday, Friday, then, and think we might just maybe for a week. We'll give it. I don't know. We could try it for a week. Maybe.
12:30 we do.
Yeah. Right. So that's what we are. We.
Now I'm in. Now I'm in on the secret.
what we think we are going to do. Right. So there we go. I was pulled in front of how many millions of followers we have.
Millions.
So, look, we got a bit of love just there.
Yeah, we got a bit of love.
How does that work here? I saw it on the thing, but
they
can't post comments to some destinations. Chat. So
they just said love, man.
They did. We just got some love from Facebook.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. So anyway, right. Woo! What an intro that was.
Hey, we're only 7 minutes in.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Yeah. As Einstein said, what's time?
What is time? Did you see there was that on SBS yesterday, the Tesla files?
I didn't have time to watch it.
Didn't have time to watch it, right? I know you have the same time, unless we're in different dimensions. You got the same amount of time.
I was too busy watching the new WikiLeaks files that have just been released.
Serious?
Yeah, I won't even go into that. Into some of the things that have been released by our friend Julian Assange.
And he's looking like as if he wasn't going to go to jail before. He probably certainly is now.
Yesterday they dumped tons and tons of things on the internet.
Who did? WikiLeaks did?
Yeah, WikiLeaks. Yes.
This is maybe his. Maybe this is his.
This is the big dump yesterday.
Fine, to put me in the jail.
Thousands.
What the heck? I'll let it all out in that case.
Thousands went up yesterday night. Thousands.
Serious.
Yeah, straight out there. With the Clinton files, like the whole, got released yesterday.
Lord, just the US hasn't copped enough of a battering.
Just to keep you up to scratch.
My God! Well, while you were doing that, I was educating. Well, not even mainstream media. This is like unmainstream.
Yeah.
Of course, mainstream media would have grabbed it, right? Anything to scare the hell out of people. Wow.
Yeah. So it's all happening.
The aftermath's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's not going to put the world in any more of a nervous state that it is right now.
So this is a great segue, isn't it, into emotional intelligence?
It is.
Because what does it do for the emotions?
Nice work.
When we're given...
Let's go with it.
When we're given information,
right?
Yeah, two things happen. Firstly, it goes into the mind.
Yep.
And then we try and analyze it, put it into cardboard boxes and different files.
Yep.
And then we have to hit the emotions with it. How do I feel about it?
Yeah.
So, usually the mind decompartmentalizes everything, puts it into a different socket.
Yeah.
I can deal with that. I can deal. I can't deal with that. It's too much information.
Right.
And then we go into emotional overload.
That's it.
Or the emotions go, I can have a little bit feel about that.
Right.
How does it make me feel? Does it make me feel good, happy, angry, frustrated, confused?
Yep.
So straight away, we have an emotion.
We do.
straight away.
We have a feeling, and this is good. Like coming from just intellect last week, we were talking about IQ, right?
Yeah. Which would be that, putting that into the file.
Yeah.
Put it into the compartment.
Right.
Yeah.
And IQ's easy.
Yeah.
The IQ, because it is very bland, fact, black and white. You just need to learn it and
ABC,
analyze,
box one, box two.
rationalize, do the math. It's done.
Yeah.
And then you get this thing called emotions, which are connected to feelings.
Yeah.
And that fucks it all up. Right?
Right? Feelings?
What are feelings? Feelings. That wasn't even right. That's one of my favourite songs, by the way. Morris Albert. It's a beautiful ballad.
Right.
Anyway, what was I going to say?
So tell me.
So feelings.
Emotions,
Emotions, right?
And how does that then relate to me? This is like totally your department. How does it then relate?
The feeling department.
The physiological.
People would argue with you on that
physiological. How do you relate that into
especially 2XYs?
What happens? What happens with the physiology of the body when the emotions come in?
Right.
Maybe can you give some insight into how to work with that?
Yep.
What to do with that?
Yep.
What are some of the strategies around that?
Mm-hmm.
That when we get that, so let's call it the feeling overload or the emotional overload.
Yeah.
What's the impact on the body?
Yeah.
What happens?
Well, there's just two things I want to say beforehand to give the IQ people a bit of a leg in here. Get them up to speed because I'm going to answer that question because this is juicy stuff. But apparently, for our data analysts out there, there are 300 billion neurons in the brain, and we're producing 400 billion thoughts or something. No, 400 billion transactions are happening each day.
Sounds like a Bitcoin account.
In fact, no, it's 100 billion. Sorry, it's 100 billion. In fact, check my post on our LinkedIn. In fact, they won't be able to understand the group. Anyway, sorry. If you're in the group, you'd be able to check this post.
And if you're not in the group,
well, come and knock on the door, right? The Corporate Alchemist Project group, and we also have a Corporate Alchemist page, right?
Yeah.
Both on the other platform. Well, actually, one of the platforms here. We're not on StreamYard now. We're in Sweden on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Right, on
Sweden
LinkedIn, right? We're not doing a Facebook Live, although it's going out live at Facebook. So, 100 billion neurons, 400 billion transactions per second. Is that kind of big? That's pretty, right? Yeah, 400 billion
in that.
Yeah, in that one and 400 billion.
Yeah.
That's a lot of energy, a lot of thinking. So as we start to connect into physiology, just from the IQ part, right, going through rationale, connecting up everywhere, what's going on in the computer, number one, right?
And that's almost the same amount as the amount of cells we have in the body.
There we go.
So every cell in the body has a relationship simultaneously to the big mind, to the computer.
Yes.
So the computer is in charge of every cell of the body. And there's 40 billion cells in the body.
Well, kinda, yes and no. So this is where this is going to get interesting. We've got a thing from Deanna. What's the difference between feelings and emotion? We are, believe it or not, going to get there, Deanna.
It's going to take a while.
Thanks for that one. Yeah, it's just going to be probably the next episode at this rate. The other thing is Egon Zehnder. Do you know who they are?
No.
Okay, so they're a corporate executive research recruiting firm, and they say, right, so for our executives out there, that it's about 80% of most effective leaders, 80% from feeling, right, versus 20% from the IQ piece.
Well,
so if you're not tapping into this 80%, right, the feely, touchy stuff, right, as a leader, it's like you're leaving 80% on the table, basically, right? So I just wanted to set the scene there on some numbers, right? And as we go from IQ to EQ on this. So what was your question again? So, okay, physiology. I was kidding. Yeah. Oh my God, it's a disaster. So when we're talking about physiology, now we can take this from two angles. So you can be feeling something and it's going to affect you physiologically, or you could be in a physiological state, right? And you want to actually change your emotional state. So it can go both ways, right? And we can control it from both sides.
Yeah.
So if we go, where are we going to go first? Physiological to EQ or EQ to physiological? Which way do you want to go?
Let's go EQ physiological
first. Okay, which was your question, right?
Yeah.
So I remember, right? So going from EQ to physiological, you will be in a certain state. Now,
some emotional state,
right? It could be you wake up in the morning and you're in a funk.
Yeah.
Or, right, so that's more of an internal one that's come about within, internal as in the head, right? Something came from here.
And so that's a thought then, because emotions don't come from the mind, do they?
Right, so it's a thought.
It's a thought.
Right? Yeah. And that thought is connected to an emotion back in the database.
Yeah.
The amygdala goes, oh, we know what's going to happen now. Shit!
Yeah.
Let's pump in some anxiety, some fear, right? Some anger. Let's get those in there, because that's what happened last time. Be ready, right?
Because the thinking always knows what the emotion is, doesn't it?
That sounds like somewhat of a rhetorical question. I should say
very,
yes to.
Very.
Yes.
Yes. I love.
That was like the royal we again.
I love it when he agrees with me. I'm just going my own back from the beginning of the show.
Oh God, I don't think it's the last one either. I'm sure there's more there. So when you're going, so you're in that funk, and that was from an internal state thing that you triggered off, right? Trigger is the word we're going to use a couple of times.
Yeah, we're going to hold that. We're going to hold that word
trigger. Yeah. And or, okay, we will head towards the trigger one. Your boss, you're feeling cool, things are great, you think you're doing a great job. Your boss says, hey, Tommy, can I get a couple of minutes with you, mate? Even worse, maybe in front of everybody. Mate,
dressing down.
Your figures
dressing
suck.
down.
The public dressing down. That works well all the time.
That's a great one for the emotions.
Right? Oh, yeah. It's like management not 101, right? So all of a sudden, not only have you lost the recognition of your boss, support, and all of a sudden, back from an external point of view, trigger, same one we had before. Oh my God, anxiety, fear. I might lose my job. I feel like shit.
Or the opposite,
right?
Because it's fight or flight.
Fight or flight.
Or he's
going to get aggressive.
Come back.
It could be because it's also in front of everybody else that he's gone. That I've gone.
Protection.
You know what? Screw you, dude. You're not like doing that in front of my people. Now it's in anger's coming in.
Yeah.
Right. So the point is, it can be an internal thing that's kicked off because of some biochemical shit that's going on in a memory, right, in your head, and then the biochemical stuff triggers off. Or there could be biochemically something going on that's put you into feeling that way. That then triggers a thought. So it can come from both angles there, or it's going to come from outside, that someone's triggered the same trigger, but an external environment, not an internal environment thing going on, right? So that's what tends to happen. Now, from an EQ point of view, when we're talking business, dealing with people, then it's how you manage that space between stimulus, negative or positive.
It doesn't matter.
Right? It doesn't matter, right? And the response. And that's supposed to be what separates us from the rest of the animal world, is that we, most of us, some of us, have the capability. Right?
So some of us.
Right? Don't even go that way. Remember, in your punk days, though, I'm wondering how well that was working for you in your punk days. Right?
Sticks at you.
Right? As the punk rocker, the romper stomper. But the space in between. And so if you are getting better and better at going, okay, I'm feeling this right now, it ain't cool. And before you've got the gun out and shot someone or headbutt them or whatever, you've gone, okay, I'm feeling this. If I give this response out here right now, I don't think it's going to work really well.
So I would call it two different things. Tommy. I'd say that would be a reaction,
right?
And the response is different to the reaction. I can respond positively. But usually a reaction, like in the psychological perspective, is when somebody has a reaction to something. That's usually seen as a negative.
A reactive type.
And a response can be a positive.
Right.
So I usually determine that by saying, are you having a response or a reaction?
Right.
In terms of the language I often use in the psychotherapy.
Right. So is it a thought response? Have you sort of like used that
thought
space?
Response, an action response, could be, a conscious response of what do I need to do here? Whereas a reaction usually is off the cuff, not thought about. I'm reacting to it, usually negatively. So when in that psychotherapeutic place, and in the emotional space, it's usually defined as a response or reaction, with the reaction being the negative.
Right.
Just in terms of the language.
Okay.
For people.
Okay.
So, Yeah.
So
good clarity around that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so leaders have either been someone naturally gifted, so part of it could be genetic, or they've learnt to use that space, and that becomes easier with time, or it just doesn't affect them.
Yeah. And what might affect you emotionally, may not affect me, and vice versa.
Right.
Yeah.
And where does that come from? I mean, why would there be a difference?
Yeah.
Would you say
different life experiences?
Right.
Different wounds.
Yep.
I always say, most reactions come from a wound.
Right.
Life experience. I've been hurt before.
Yeah.
So of course I'm going to protect myself. And the best way to protect myself is to get defensive or run away.
Right.
That's the bottom line of all psychotherapeutic and emotional work.
Right.
Is the story we attach to it. Yeah. If we have a negative story attached to
because of the outcome last time, it was oh my God, this is where it's going. I've seen this before. And all it's doing is picking out information from the past, the history.
From those billions of moments.
Yep.
It'll pull out that one instance.
Right.
That there's a connection, like a mirror.
Right.
There's a similar feeling in the body. So a similar chemistry will happen again. It'll match.
It's back there again.
Yeah, it'll match that chemistry.
Right.
It'll match the feeling.
Yeah.
And it's like, I remember this. Yeah. And memories can go back, 100 years, a million.
It's trying to help you survive, right?
Yeah. Memories have no timeline.
Yeah.
People can say, I can close my eyes. We can all close our eyes.
Yep.
And know something happened just when we're 3 years old.
Yep.
And we smell it, we taste it, we see it, we feel it, as if it was right now.
Right.
It's particularly how people do hypnotherapy, for instance.
Right.
And different psychotherapists can go right back to the instant. And people go, yes, it smells exactly like it did when I was 3.
Well, see, that's like toast on a Saturday morning, even though it's sometimes not the healthiest unless you've got some no-grain bread. But the smell of toast in the morning on a weekend to me just incites positive emotions.
Yeah.
It's a weekend, and smelling coffee.
Bacon sandwiches for me. I'm 6 years old. I'm back in the Cherry Tree Cafe in the UK with my dad.
Right.
Like every time.
Did you have your mohawk and all that?
No, I was only 6.
That's 6. Okay.
But it was a cup of tea, and it was bacon sandwiches with HP sauce.
Right.
And if I smell that,
that's it. HP sauce. Right.
Same thing.
Isn't it crazy?
It's just that memory of smell.
Right.
It's one of the strongest of all memory faculties is smell.
The smell.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if we're back in the dark ages and we're trying to survive, smell.
Yeah.
I can smell a threat, or I can smell some really good stuff, right?
Yep. Smell the wood smoke, smell the campfire.
Or you're watching through your eyes information, right? That's being decoded back into the database to check if there's a previous episode, and you're going, I know how this plays out. I've been there before. Right?
I can smell that, remembering that smell from something.
Right.
Estrogen.
Pheromones. Right, there we go. Pheromones.
Let's go right back.
Biochemical.
Let's go right back.
Right back there. Yeah, let's get really basic.
That's where it started.
Yeah, get the club, drag into the cave and whatever. So there we go. So physiologically, when we're looking at the information that's coming in, and just on this too, the IQ does the rationalization and analysis piece, right? We did that last week. That 4% meager part of the brain that we use, right? Which the consciousness kind of lives around there. But in these emergency type situations, and this is where that not thinking piece comes with a non-reaction, is that actually those things can go past the rationalization. In fact, in IT terms, for our IT brethren that are watching, they'd call it direct memory access. It doesn't need to go through the processor. It can go direct to the database and pluck it up. Because if you need to think about it, it's like learning to drive a car in the beginning. It's too slow until it becomes an automatic process.
It's too late to run when the lion's on you.
You're dead. Right?
Just got to run.
And or the snake in the grass. Shit, snake! And then after you go, it's a hose.
And the head goes.
It's a rubber hose.
And the head says, stop, put your runners on, do your shoelaces up.
Let's just hang around.
It's all too late.
Meanwhile, you've been bitten 5 times. Right?
Just get out of here.
Exactly, right? And the same thing happens when we're threatened in these situations when we're relating to others.
And if we take that into the workspace, Tommy, and we're threatened by authority, by the boss, by not getting our results, the threat of looking small, the threat of losing the bonus, whatever that threat is.
Yeah, and there's lots of them in there.
It's going to come into play, isn't it?
It's
flight or flight is going to come straight in.
It's a battlefield. You're in the battlefield, right?
Survival.
It's survival.
Yeah.
You know, and when you're in the thick of it, you know, it's
So
also
the amygdala. Yeah, survival.
yeah, survival. Let's do this, and you can't make changes. I mean, you can't teach a drowning person how to swim, right? So to be able to start to adapt in those situations, and you would know this as well, if not better than me, doing it outside of that situation to learn some of these fantastic habits. In fact, what are some ways that you've counseled people on how they can start to change from a reaction to a response?
So for me, Tommy, it's also I run a workshop on Saturday, and we were working in love and fear and looking at the connection between self-love and self-hatred, and it all comes back to the story we associate. So the first
it's always a story.
Nearly always a story or an experience.
Right.
Yeah. So the first thing to me is go back to the core. Go back to the moment where that story began.
Right.
Go back to that experience. Work out what the experience meant to us from a IQ and EQ perspective. Yeah. And say, well, in that experience, in that time, I was 6 years old. I was at school, and I got a whack across my hand with a ruler from the teacher. Right. It went into my memory bank. So every time I have and I was blamed for something I didn't do. Right. You know, that's often one. Yeah. And I was triggered, so I was punished for something I didn't do. Yeah. And every time I'm in a similar situation in my life, that memory will be triggered. Yep. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go back into protecting myself from being hit again. Right. And I'm either going to fight, or I'm going to freeze, or I'm going to run away.
You're going to flight.
Yeah. It happens all the time. Right. And that behavior starts to escalate, and of course the story becomes a reality for us, and we lock it into, partly it could become our identity. Yep. Yeah, we'll become fear of something. So for me, it's go back to the core. Yep. Go and do some therapy. Go and do some work to release.
So you got to find it. You got to find it where it is in the database.
Yep. Right? Go right back in the database, and that's with a skilled professional,
like usually a therapist,
or counsellor, psychotherapist.
Get you there by questioning technique.
Yep. Go back to the point. Yeah. Questioning and also psychosomatic work. So when I do my psychotherapy, I do the psychosomatic work where we go into the body, right? Because the mind will cover it up. Yeah, the mind will cover it up, particularly if there's been an abuse situation.
So put it in a box and sort of like try to get rid of it.
It'll protect it because it doesn't want to flush it out again because it's too dangerous.
And it can live in certain organs. Certain things like anger lives in the liver.
Different things.
Yeah, right.
And what we can do, we can
kinesiology type stuff.
Yeah, so we can access where it is in the body by saying, let's go back to the feeling of that experience. Yep. Let's put the client back into that situation. Right. So they feel it. Right. Then take them out and get them to look back in. Right. And see what imprint has been left in the ether space. Right. And people go, yep, I can see myself right there. I'm 6 years old. Yeah. Blah, blah was there. Blah, blah was there. Right. This was my experience. And then in that moment, we can change it. Right. In that moment, we can redirect the movie. Put some resources in place to protect the child or whatever in place. Yeah. Because the mind doesn't know the difference in reality and fiction. Right. So we can change the fiction story. Yep. We can put marshmallows in place, make it comfortable, make it smooth, do a bit of therapy around it, take people out of the situation who was the cause of the situation. Right. Change the story, maybe a few times until the subconscious mind gets it. Yep. And then of course release it from where it's stuck. Right. Because it gets it clings into an organ or somewhere in the body. Yeah. So we remove that.
Lower back or hips or whatever. I mean, I'm tight around there. Yeah, certain amount of that would be emotional.
So we need to work on that. We do. So book in for a session.
Maybe not on here. Or maybe we'll go live with that.
Yeah, book in for a session.
People can see me cry on FB Live.
And I'll do a bit of woo-woo.
Right, there we go. Right. Yeah. I think people have already seen my, certain parts of my body on FB Live a while back.
That might not have been on this
maybe not on this one.
Not on this TV
station. Yeah, that's on the other. Sorry, I'm getting it mixed up. Whoops.
Mr. Stud.
Yeah, Mr. Stud. Yeah, right. No, quiet. Right? Yeah.
So what we do, Tommy, and this is where that emotion and physiology comes into place, because they are directly united. You cannot have one without the other. You cannot have emotion without the IQ. You cannot have IQ without emotion.
Right. They've got to connect.
And they are connected.
They're connected.
Totally connected.
Simply. I mean, you can't remember it, then it ain't there.
And unfortunately, probably up until 20 or 30 years ago, before EQ was starting to really come into the fore.
Thanks to Daniel Goleman.
Yeah, particularly in the business world. Yeah, it was all about IQ.
Right.
And of course, we were missing 96% of the picture.
Duh. I mean, still today.
We're still on, and by the way, with EQ and IQ, it's still not the full picture.
Yeah.
Because we've got RQ and SQ.
Oh, they're coming up.
And then CQ.
They're coming up. CQ.
Yeah, cosmic.
Oh, God. There's not 5 weeks in a month.
We're going
right.
cosmic.
Oh, my God. We might touch on cosmic.
But when we touch on the IQ and the EQ, we're probably talking 30-40%.
Right.
But it's better than 4.
Yeah.
Because EQ is a big part.
It's massive, isn't it? And it's funny how you've got to know how to deal with your own stuff to be able to relate. We're doing RQ next week, relationship quotient, right? But here we are at EQ, which is still massive. There's still massive upside in being able to manage that better for your relationships, be it your personal ones, all the ones you have at work, up, down, and to the sides and everywhere else, right? And so when you get someone like Egon Zehnder and all these other executive firms and research firms saying, guys, we're using 4% of our brain and we've got a lot of junk sitting in the back end that is not working for you, right, in situations, there's a huge opportunity right there. But it takes like going to the gym, right? It takes some effort. It takes a bit of courage. It takes vulnerability. And you've been hearing a lot about vulnerability on, it's where it kind of went, the pendulum swung so far that everybody, all of a sudden, it was cool to just cry on Facebook every day, right? And now it's sort of swung back to, let's just bring it to kind of normal.
But getting into the physiological, Tommy, is really important because with emotional work, particularly around the psychotherapeutic place, it takes will. And for me, the only way to engage in will to activate is to get physical. Because the hardest way, in many ways, to get the will driven is to do something physical, like go and do your 10 push-ups a day, or get on your trampoline, or go to the gym, or go for a swim or surf. That will, once that's engaged, it's easy to go emotional. If it cannot, I do a lot of addiction work with clients, and I say, before we get into any addiction work, we're going to put into place, you're going to go to the gym 3 times a week.
There we go. That's why we work together.
Right. Because if you don't do the gym work, I'm telling you.
In case you haven't worked it out yet, that's why we're a team.
Because if you don't do the gym work, it's going to be harder for us both to break the addiction.
And hence we have those foundations first, where we look at the emotional, the eating, moving, and sleeping piece, connecting through the brain's connected to all of it, right? And then, of course, the emotional, mental, and spiritual stuff.
It's very hard to go to the emotional or even the spiritual
if you haven't sorted this stuff out.
Get to the physical,
right?
Building blocks.
And then again, and the way in is through the mind.
Totally.
Right? The switch box.
Into the will.
Into the will. So this is where it gets interesting too, because, and we're talking about the gym, we're talking about, okay, let's come now from a physiological angle. You wake up in that funk in the morning. And
back to the funk.
Back to the funk.
Don't you love the way we go right in the spiral?
Let's get funked, right? Time to get in, have a funk fest. So you're working in the morning, you're feeling like crap. Now that could have been because physiologically you put some bad shit in your mouth. You ate crap. You had a big night out, and now you're paying the price.
Too many ginger beers.
Too many ginger beers, right? And sometimes actually it might not even be that. It's just something is triggering off from a dream. Some thoughts are going on.
Could be a movie,
right? Could have been a movie. Could have been something.
Dark Waters, mate.
Dark Waters?
I watched it last night.
Oh, what did you think of that?
So, have you seen it?
Yeah, it's the
DuPont one. DuPont. Yeah. Go and watch DuPont. See what's really going on.
It's on is it Netflix? It's
Netflix.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Ooh. No, no, not. It might be on Netflix.
I watched it on the Big Pond one. Yeah.
Ooh. Just I know it's on the side, but
heavy.
Talking about emotional intelligence and stirring.
Oh my God.
I got stirred.
What that guy went through as well. The lawyer that just went and just did the right thing.
Incredible.
And the price he had to pay, because you're going to deal with a lot of negative protection, ego, money, power.
He was in emotional intelligence. Right? He was in spiritual intelligence.
Totally, wasn't he? Totally.
He was in relationship intelligence.
Right. Big time. Big time. I think he was bordering into the SQ area too.
He was totally.
Right.
Totally, okay. It was of service to the planet.
Right. So exactly. That's doing the right thing. And what knows? This knows. See this part here? It's on the left here, but it looks like it's on the right there. This thinks. And when you get that machine thinking too much and thinking too much bad shit. So going back, when up into the age of 7, and you would know this as well as me, it's empty. And there's
It's a
stuff going in up to the
sponge,
age of
it's
7.
sponge,
It's the sponge,
Yeah.
you know, it's very soft. It's saying, give me information. And the brain, the child's brain is acting at the theta level, not beta, which is where we, as adults, sympathetic mode, heart's a bit faster, survival. Some of us, right? Some of us, yeah, not him, right? Yeah, me, right? Are at that level way too much, and it's very easy to get into that when you've been in the corporate world for a few decades as well, right? And then you sort of like undo that.
I thought that's a prerequisite.
Thanks, mate. Jeez, with friends like you. So, friend. Yeah, so as a kid, up to the age of 7, you're in that theta mode where you're very receptive to these changes. Like you said, you work as a psychotherapist then to, in one of your jobs, to get people to that stage. Hypnotherapists get people to the theta stage because it goes beta, alpha, theta, and then delta is sleep. You want to be just before sleep when the door is open to go into the subconscious and do that sort of mental surgery that you mentioned before, right? And let's take that thought out. Let's put this one in. Let's start to program a new one in. As a kid, it's all coming in, garbage and all.
Yeah. There's no filter.
Right. And then when your program's full, that's it. And that's why they're saying, okay, after 7, you're not putting much in. So then you're going to replace some crap, right? Yes. Or some more crap will kind of seep in during the rest of your life, but it's not as easy. Right.
And the classic is, 5-year-old child loves climbing trees, and the parent is going, stop climbing that tree, you're going to fall. Stop climbing that tree, you're going to fall. Stop climbing that tree, you're going to fall. Child falls, guess what? Well, I'm programmed to fall because I've just been told 20 times I'm going to fall.
Right, exactly.
And then the child gets smacked for falling.
Right, yeah, as well. Oh, you fell, you broke your leg, you fall.
So when they're in 3rd, they go to the therapist.
Right, right, to go and fix up all that damage.
All the mixed messages.
Right. So I'm just switching off my WhatsApp. You're noisy there.
Okay. So don't forget the question.
What's the difference between feelings and emotion? Jeez, I haven't worked that out. It's like spell it out. We're getting there. You have to be at the end of the show. So you're getting up in the morning. So here's the thing, though. You can also change your state, not from just what you mentioned around, getting someone calm. You can't teach a drowning person how to swim. So get into that calm state. Get them into the war room rather than being in the field of battle. Right, and then everybody's calm in here and they're strategizing and make those changes. But also just being physiologically active, and you touched on this a bit before, starting to move. Because biochemically, what's going on is endorphins, movement, the hormone movement, the positive one, endorphins start. So getting into the gym.
Depression?
Move. Right, move.
Get to the gym.
Just freaking move. That's why we have eat, move, and sleep.
If you're in the gym, Tom, and you've got 40 kilos, you can't be depressed.
You're pretty focused at that point.
You're focused. No depression.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
If you've got a paintbrush, you're painting. No depression.
Right.
So for me, really controversial. Depression's a choice.
Oh, who agrees with that one?
You don't have to agree.
Who agrees with that one?
But it's my 20 years of
psychotherapy
of every client I've had.
Right.
Because I say to them, when you're painting, are you depressed? Right. And they say no. So I say, are you going to choose painting or depression?
Right.
It's a choice.
And I reckon a big part of that is that it's bringing people to presence.
Well, let them know there's an option. Let them know there's an option.
There's an option, right?
There's another option.
There is an option.
You don't have to be depressed.
It is possible. You don't have to.
I know there's, I'm not a medic, and I know there is depression is seen as a medical term. So I'm not talking about the medical term, I'm talking about the soul term. Soul depression.
What's the difference?
For me, soul depression is not knowing one's service, not knowing one's life journey, not knowing one's vocation, not knowing where one wants to be on the planet. Right. People get depressed around that because they're not following their truth.
Right.
Yeah. So there is medical depression.
So there's a bit of cognitive dissonance going on. You're not living your true self.
And I wouldn't say that's cognitive. I'd say that's soul.
Soul.
So it's not in the head. It's deeper. It's in the soul. It's in the feeling.
Right.
I'm depressed because I'm not following my dream of being an artist.
Right. You're not following your spirit in your life.
And that's depressing.
Right. Totally.
Really depressing. Totally. If somebody's not following their life journey or their passion or what they're meant to be doing on the planet, that's depressing. And that's 90% for me. From what from my experience, depression can be fixed pretty easily if people follow their passion.
So there we go, right? So we've got two things. We've got moving, and we've got, if we go to the other So eat, move, sleep, emotional, mental, spiritual, from the spiritual side, tapping in, if you can, to those things that you love doing. And that gets you focused. So we've got one that is kicking off.
But start with running.
Start with running, because that's an easy one, because you can control it straight off. To move something is kind of more tangibly easily. So, and as soon as you start moving, going for the walk or whatever, that's biochemically changing things.
And that's a choice.
Neurochemical.
And that's a choice.
That's a choice.
Go for a walk or not.
Yep. That's right. Because sometimes no, I want to stay here. I'm going to sort this out. Or
no,
I want to get this thing fixed and finished. Right? Pulling yourself away consciously. Decisions, choices you are making. People say, I don't have enough time. We all have the same amount of time. I'm going to say it again. What decisions or choices are you making with yours? And so, like you said, the other piece is, so not only you're moving, but then if you do something you love, and it could be you're an artist, or you've got something in music, or I love listening to music constantly, right? Write a book, because it changes my mood and sets off different chemicals. Write a book, expression, right? Doing FB Lives.
We love it.
We're hating this right now. So that changes the state, the emotional state. Right?
Totally.
So these are things that you can do, that you can control. Now, let's say you're in a situation, though, it's the boss or it's the partner who you dearly love, but you're going through one of those ebbs and flow moments, the ebb moment, and you all of a sudden end up in the field of battle because you've done something or she's done something, you've triggered one, and then that response then triggers off the other, right? And then before you know it, we've got an argument happening. So what would you advise people do at that stage, right? When they're in that situation?
I usually go straight back to the company agreements, rules, what's
code of conduct. Right.
Sometimes you have to go legal. Sometimes you've got to get beyond.
Wow, if it gets really like bullying and stuff.
Nearly always. I get a lot of clients coming in that space.
That's extreme.
So it's okay. What's the code of conduct? What did you sign up for?
Right.
Who's your HR person that can lead you in the direction to go and get some mediation? So straight away, don't leave it for too long. Because you are protected. In the workplace, everybody's protected. In the workplace. So I know it's tough and I know it's hard, but everybody has rights.
Right.
And sometimes we have to find a voice.
Right.
And oftentimes the people that get into that space is they haven't found a voice.
Right.
So the thing in the therapy space will be, where did you lose your voice? Let's go back to the moment when you didn't have a voice. I was 2, 3, 5, 10, 15. Let's fix that. And find your voice.
You might have had a parent or parents that were overbearing that you didn't express.
Absolutely. So learn, usually it's that word no,
right,
or the boundary,
right.
So big red pen, NO on the hand, and practice that in front of the mirror.
Right.
No, I have a boundary. No, I have a boundary.
Right.
No, I have a boundary.
Right. So you're not going to allow yourself to be treated in that way.
Like this is my stand, and this is my line in the sand.
Right.
And I won't be treated that way.
Right.
And that could be at the risk of losing one's job.
Right.
That's the fear, of course, because of security. And, but
the perception of security.
Perception of security. So one has to overcome some fears around that space. But the thing is, it'll feel it in the body. It'll be fight or flight.
Right.
And if that
so
flight
you're feeling
is so deep,
that
it might be that I don't have the courage.
Right.
I don't have the freedom to actually stand up to my superior
right now.
Because usually it's that superiority thing that happens, and the bullying.
The bullying as a result. And I mean, they're the legal boundaries or guardrails, right? I mean, they're extreme. Right. To say this is not how we behave.
It's not okay.
Right. It's not okay.
Right. And it's even stated in my contract or in the company rules or agreements or MOUs.
Okay.
And sometimes we have to go. That's the extreme. The other is just take responsibility for the reaction.
Okay. So now we're stepping it up.
So we go, okay, I'm being challenged here. Can I stay present?
Right.
Can I stay present in this moment and let that person steam, let them steam. I'm not going to bite. I'm not going to bite. I'm not going to bite. I'm going to find some conscious response. Particularly around bullies, conscious response.
Right.
Conscious response. It's hard.
You're feeling these things. And this response is new for you. It's a new thing you're trying on, and it feels a bit fake.
Right.
But
hold it. Stay present. Stay present.
Stay in the game.
Don't bite. Don't bite. Don't take the hook. Don't take the hook. Because a lot of the time when people are in that conflict space, they're looking for the hook. They want the
drama.
They want the drama. So if we don't
bring it to me,
so
bring it to me.
So we don't play ball.
Right.
After a while, it's like I can't play ball with this person anymore.
Yeah.
I don't do bullies.
Right.
Like I just don't do bullies.
Yeah.
I've just learned not to do bullies.
Yeah.
And I remember this one story.
Yeah.
So in Tassie, with a neighbour, big 6'8" bear of a bloke,
right,
and leant over the fence to me and he said, "Let me tell you something." And I was having an issue of an easement,
right,
and it got to the lawyer stage where the easement, the water coming through, and in the contract something happened, and he leant over the fence and, "Let me tell you something, matey. We can go legal or not." And I said, "Mate, I don't do bullies." It is like everything
deflated.
Like he had nowhere to go.
Right.
Absolutely nowhere.
What do you do with that? I don't do bullies.
I just said to him, "I don't do bullies."
Yeah.
It was like you could see this guy going like trying to get the IQ of it.
Right. Bring it down to the low frequency, dragging level.
Because he was pretty down.
Right.
It was Flintstones,
Right. And he could have done some damage.
But he'd never, I'd imagine, ever had that response.
Right. So that kind of threw him. It's like, that doesn't compute. Yeah.
Didn't compute.
Yeah.
So it was like,
yeah, there's nothing.
And there's this guy who's like,
oh shit, I have to use brain.
Yeah. and it just goes through. And that's my normal response, either verbally or energetically, just going,
I don't do bullies.
Bullies.
Sit
that language,
drag a knuckle.
Yeah, he's like, he doesn't do bullies. That's translatable.
That's what it is in the Ooga Booga speak.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. There we go. Some dark ages.
Because that is the emotional intelligence for me to take responsibility. I'm being emotionally responsible, not to get triggered.
Yeah.
And it takes.
Yeah. So you're basically saying, I'm not into this, mate.
I'm not playing the game. I'm not playing the game.
Yeah.
I'm more intelligent. Please don't
go and friend somebody else.
Please don't insult my intelligence.
Yeah,
that's really
right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, don't insult my EQ.
Yeah. Don't insult my EQ. Yeah. You can insult my intelligence.
Right.
But,
Get on the fuck.
But please don't insult the emotional intelligence.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm more than that. I'm bigger than that.
Right.
And
but that's a decision you had to make for you, right?
Totally.
You were. I mean, if we're going to just skip for a moment into the quantum, what's happened is, because if everything's energy and frequency, right, and vibration, you've been all of a sudden there's this frequency of vibration that's come at you.
Yeah, I've attracted it.
You've attracted it somehow, right? Yeah. Right. And so now your response to it, there's a frequency that you're going to have to emit, which is going to neutralize that frequency. So the energy it goes out of zero.
Dissipates,
right?
And he's either going to meet it,
right,
and be with me, or he's going to go into fight or flight,
right?
Because that's what always happens, or freeze,
right? So if you went into the same frequency, there's a chance that the amplitude, if we're going to talk physics, will increase for this. You're into the same low level frequency,
and that's called conflict.
Conflict, right?
Yeah. Low level
right.
equals conflict.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you head to the opposite frequency,
love,
right?
Yeah,
it's going to go.
Yeah, and love for self.
Right.
I'm not putting up with that.
Right.
It's the highest love.
I'm not entertaining that.
I'm not entertaining that. I love myself too much to entertain that. Like, I haven't got time, the energy.
Right.
I don't want to buy into that.
Yeah, I'm not going to play.
Love me too much.
I'm not going to play.
Why do I do that? It's going to go into some organ, or it's going to damage me or something.
Right.
Okay. Why do I need to play that game?
Yeah. Meanwhile, it could have been an experience that comes in and say, dude.
Yeah.
This is what happened last time.
Yeah.
But you've made those steps and you've learned.
I've transformed the punk.
Right.
Because the old days I'd been over the fence.
Right. Okay. All right. We're on, mate. Yeah. Your place of mine. Yeah. Right.
What's the thing? The bigger the harder they fall.
That's it. Yeah. Okay, smart boy.
I used to go looking for the big ones.
Right. The knuckle draggers with slow brain capacity. Yeah, right. So where was I going? So you came in and you neutralized that frequency.
Yeah.
And this is real now. We're still talking physics here because it's energy frequency.
Total physics.
That's what you've done. For those that I think know, because I think the ego can kind of start to cope with this. We're talking from a physics and science angle. It's not you being soft. It's you being smart. Right? Because it is an energy frequency.
Brain's not brawn.
Brain's not brawn, right? And even with if you've got a whiplash tongue as well. I mean, sure, you're not being physical, but you're still having a go in your way, and that can still incite the issue.
Oh, absolutely.
But you get thumped.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, the tongue doesn't
work. That's not going to work either, right?
Not against
Yeah, even though the law may not be there to say, oh, but he had a vicious tongue, right? Well, you've got 5 years. That's probably not going to happen. But it's not going to work for you either way. So, all right. So we've talked about a lot about the amygdala, previous 7 years, brain's open, kids are in theta, there's a lot of stuff going in, memories we're drawing on in these situations. So, and then with exercise, we change state, movement. Same thing is with diet. We're talking physiologically. Foods we eat are going to change our emotions.
Sugar.
Right? Sugar. You know,
great topic.
I had, a big one still, and will be for a while if the industry continues to have its way. I had the other night, I haven't had it for years, and I love it. Sticky date pudding.
That was on the menu on Friday. I nearly had one.
Was it? Oh, I saw it on the board there. But it's funny because the old muscle twitch that used to be there is a lot smaller now. So these things do change with time.
I nearly went red.
So I was with someone the other night, and this person ordered, and I thought, it's cheat day. You know, and this person enjoys their food. Okay, what the WTF? I haven't had one for a long time. It's cheat day. You know, it's not like I'm losing control. Like it's a habit. You have it, I'll have one, and it tasted delicious. Right, and then I got the 2 scoops of ice cream. Right,
as you do.
Yeah, not one, but also the person I was with gave me theirs. Right. And oh my God, it's like this is
sugar hit, dairy hit.
Of course, but right now I'm thinking you're gonna regret this. My heart rate, so I check heart rate variability and everything for my aura rate. Mr. Tech, right? And biotech measuring stuff. I knew I was going to buzz out. I could feel it, and I never used to be as sensitive to those things because I was in that vibe most of the time.
48 hours later, he's still buzzing.
Still on fire. It was big, dude. It was on fire. I could feel
still on fire, mate.
Still on fire. I was buzzing. It's like, right? It's like, oh my God, what am I going to do with all this extra energy?
Tomorrow depression when he comes down.
Right. So it was actually like almost the next day-ish. It took like half the night for. And I knew it was going to happen. My HRV was crap for the first half.
HRV, mate, just for those that don't know.
Thank you for asking. Heart rate variability, which is to do with if your heart rate is actually high, there's a high correlation, an inverse relationship, where heart rate is like high, there's a good chance that your heart rate variability is going to be low, which is not a good thing. It's not a good thing if you're doing it constantly, because what happens is the body is in what they call sympathetic mode. It's in a stressed state.
Too much sticky date pudding.
Too much sticky date pudding. Right? It was fun sensations going in, and then my body had to deal with it. So what are we going to do with this? Right? We're going to put this in a fuel tank, right? And it goes in physiologically. It says, right, let's put it into the muscles, and the bigger muscles you have, the better when you're building muscle to be able to have bigger glycogen stores. Right? And also the liver can store a certain amount, right? But then when that's done, and the insulin's saying, we got to get this stuff out of your bloodstream, it then says, right, well, we're going to have to build some fat. Right? And that's where it ends up going, right? And that's after you've had a crappy sleep. So, so the next day, I was thinking, and I was feeling emotionally a bit guilty about it. Damn, it was good. It was totally worth it. So I don't do it all the time. But when you do that, you come off, like you said. You come off. Alcohol, same. You buzz out the night before. You get actually what, especially for the anxious type, in my health type, tends to be an anxious type. It's an ectomesomorph. GABA, one of the other neurochemicals, tends to drop off. And alcohol can actually lift your GABA. That's why, as a release, as a distraction, to numb out a bit, your GABA levels go higher when you're having a drink. And so for me, that's where I used to find a lot of relief in the stressful career and life and marriage and whatever. And you're going, and then I'm going, then it's buzzing me up. And I'm like, let's party, right? And little did I know that wasn't doing my health a lot of good, as I found out years down the track. And, the last 4 or 5 have been reversing all of that, right? So food can change your emotional state as well. right? And when those temptations come in, like you said before too, there's that gap between that stimulus and response thing to make a decision that, for the long term, not the short term gratification, which a lot of our millennials,
which is generation, which is a whole addiction.
Right?
The whole addiction is immediate gratification. It's like I want it now, I want to fix now.
Right.
I want to fix now. I want to fix now.
Yep.
And that's where the addiction starts.
The kids are there, gaming,
to
amphetamines and everything else that they're taking.
And of course, if you look at the gaming and you look at diabetes, absolute correlation.
Right.
Almost to the day the gaming started and diabetes, spike.
It is correlated.
Because what happens is, people go into overdrive.
Yeah. Constantly,
and
then that sugar up too.
The adrenaline goes in, and nobody's running away from the lion.
Yeah,
so the adrenaline stays in the body.
Yeah,
and then
but your subconscious doesn't know any different. I think you're running away from the lion.
Yeah. Right? But we're not physically.
We're not.
So we're not bringing it up.
But and then your subconscious goes, "Whoa, I've been chased by lions. Switch on this and that hormone. Get that happening.
Get the adrenaline pumping through the body.
Right. And if you do that for, let's say, a decade, Adrian, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Chronic disease is going to set in. You're going to blow an engine.
Totally.
You don't drive around in traffic with the foot to the floor all the time. You're going to have an accident.
It's going to happen.
It's
not if. It's when.
It's when.
Yeah,
it is when.
It's when.
It's when. I've seen it. I've seen it. I've got
it's constant.
Right. One of my partners I work with said recently, he sent me a text on LinkedIn. Look, we've got a couple of CEOs. One's just got diagnosed with type 2. Another one had a heart attack last year. They want to reach out and connect with you, see what they can do. So this I'm starting to see more and more and more. And I think I'm seeing more of it because they're finding out I exist, right? But it's been, if you just look at the heart disease and cancer and everything else, right? We're talking about EQ and IQ. And go on.
And just in that EQ, Tommy, it's choice. It's back to choice. Conscious choice.
Conscious choice.
Every time. Now, what can I do today?
Learn new habits.
That's going to help me tomorrow. Can I run today? Can I swim today? Can I do the gym today? Can I wear, great shoes today? I just went shopping this morning with my beloved, just to get some really good, comfortable shoes.
Nice.
Because it's great to walk in comfortable shoes. Because if you need an arch, you need an arch. If you need something to widen your toes, you need some wide toes. If you don't do it, in 5 years' time, you go, oh, we should have put. Right. So prevention. Right. Every time. So skipping every day. I see a trampoline here. You're on a tramp every day. Doing your yoga, which is good to see.
The yoga.
And if we do a yoga, if we do tramping, if we do the gym work,
and these are running, little things,
whatever it is, but do something. It
is totally do something. And doing it progressively during the day. The old sort of hour in the gym, which has become part of these days, right? Because of the big C, as in COVID. Even that is not really super helpful, especially if you're looking at weight management. I mean, if you've optimized everything else, you actually don't need to worry about weight management. It'll just fall off and get you to your optimum, right? But there we go. Look at that. So
optimum 73 kilos, mate, on there.
Dude, you're looking good, actually.
I was 87 kilos 18 months ago.
Right.
And I'm 73 and maintained and
there we go.
Feeling good. And, better diet, better health, better mindset.
Well, it's eating, moving, and sleeping.
And I've been challenged in my sleep by Mr. Tommy G.
Right, yes.
And improving.
Right. The hours that you're going to go to sleep and then the quality of your sleep. You need something like an Aura ring or whatever to be able to get a good look at it. And that affects like weight management as well. These things are all connected. And this is what people I think are starting to work out. And straight away, the first thing people say, well, I've come to have a chat with you, see what you can do. I've been going to the gym. That's a great start. It's like one piece. And by the way, if it comes to weight management, movement is only 20%. 80% of it is kind of, if you take the two of them, the other 80% is going to be in what you're eating.
Right? And then, of course,
the
emotional impact of food.
And the emotional impact of food.
Comfort food,
right?
Emotional food.
Exactly.
The chocolate at night. I'm all lonely. I'm going to eat 16 bars of chocolate. Because I haven't dealt with my emotions about being lonely and rejected. Blah, 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 blah.
You're numbing out again. You're escaping for a while. We had Deanna here saying, escape. But and then the final one, physiologically, with regards to EQ, is sleep. Right? So if you're getting good sleep, when you should be sleeping, quality sleep. So we're looking at how much REM and how much deep you're getting, but in the right sort of zone for you, specifically for you as an individual, which we can work out. then those three things and the tripod forms for then setting you up for the other areas of the emotional, mental, and spiritual side of then moving into EQ. Right. So eating, moving, sleeping, tripod or three-legged stool, if you like, get those right. You put yourself in the best position to be able to emotionally manage yourself better, where you're making that effort to, and things aren't impacting.
Because you haven't got the foundation to deal with the emotions. It's really hard.
Yeah,
it's really hard.
Oh, you're screwed.
Yeah, I'm about to take on a client who wants to give up smoking.
Right.
Just got called this morning, and it's like, okay, what are we going to do to give up smoking? Because that's emotional.
Yep.
Yeah, like cigarettes is an addiction, so it's an emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what we're going to do first? Well, we're going to get physical first.
Yep.
What are you going to do that's physical to get your will going?
Right.
Because it's pointless trying to do addiction work on giving up smoking unless you get the will engaged.
Right.
So what's the one thing you can do every single day for 5 or 10 minutes to get the will engaged? And then we can get you off smoking.
Right.
So it's got to come back to the physiology. It's got to come back to the foundation every single
time. Right? Yeah. And I mean, that's the part we can directly kind of control. You can track that. Has it worked or not? Versus stuff that's in your head is hard to kind of measure because it's all happening at that time. You can get theory, but if it's like, did you do that exercise? Did you sleep from then to then? Your breath work, right? Huge one for changing emotional state. Right. Straight away.
Anger management. There's so many programs out there. Anger management. That work cognitively.
Right.
Anger doesn't live in the head.
Right.
It lives in the emotion.
The emotions, which are down visceral in the gut.
So
down here, not in the heart, but down here.
I feel anger.
Down here.
And then from my feeling, I emote.
You emote from, so you feel it and then you emote.
Then you emote it, which is an emotion. So emotional is the
energy emotion
from a feeling.
Right.
So just
energy emotion.
Right. So we feel it,
there we go.
and then we emote it.
Right.
The emotion is the expression of the feeling.
Right.
Just for to answer the question, so I feel, and then I emote it through my emotion of what I'm feeling. Right. So I express my emotion.
So there's an energy there.
And then
the emotion
is the expression.
Is the motion which is the expression of.
Right. So when people say I feel emotional, bit of a contradiction.
Right. Yeah.
Because you feel
you're feeling something.
Yeah. I feel the sensation.
Yep.
And then I'm emotional. Right. Which is the release of
and that's
the expression.
And that's where you can make that stimulus and response. Because that's the stimulus and the motion is the response.
Yeah. So anger.
Right?
Yeah. I can.
You don't want a bottle of that, because that stuff's
I can
bad
talk about releasing anger for decades and nothing will change. I can go to a psychologist and talk about my anger for 10 years and nothing will change.
Right.
But if I can release the anger, emotively and expressively, and get rid of the anger, and find out where the anger's come from, but then anger has to be expressed. It's a secondary emotion. So it's got to come out the body.
So let's go there with this one. Let's double click on
this. You want me to get angry? Dangerous times, right? Dangerous times.
Exactly. I don't need a demonstration right now. So let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about feelings. Yeah, we'll take it to a different level. Get passive aggressive. Let's get passive aggressive. Yeah, nothing more then. So let's get the keyboard going here. You're feeling it, right? Yeah. So stimulus.
Yeah. And two things happen. We swallow it.
Right.
Express it.
Right. Now, is it healthy to swallow it?
No, because they're telling you at some point.
Toxic.
Push. Cancer. Push.
Is a big one.
Explosion.
Or it'll do something stupid
and do damage.
To it. So it's got that energy. That energy is gonna do something.
It's gonna go in or it's gonna come out.
Right. And so how do people do it? Let's take a business situation, right? Because that'll also probably count to a degree for even personal stuff, right? But this is the Corporate Alchemist project.
Yeah, this is a corporate
project. Yeah. So then what are you going to do with that anger there and then? You're feeling it, you're feeling really pissed off. Whatever. Boss, one of your, I hate using the word subordinates, but one of your team. Right, one of your flock. Or a peer.
Yeah. So if you can't release it right then in the moment, I say grab it, put it in the jam jar.
Right in the jar.
Put it in the jam jar. And go and express it
somewhere else. Go. So take it out of the room.
Go into the ocean. Right. Go into the bush. Go into the toilet.
What about going into a room with them and just letting it out at them?
Oh, great. Let's cause some conflict.
Okay. Guess what's going to come back? Which could be your whole situation, your trigger and whatever.
It's going to be a trigger, of course.
Right. And so you've thrown this energy over there.
Yeah, you take it. You have my anger.
Yeah. So,
And they're
then
either
what?
going to respond back, or they're going to soak that
Oh,
up.
they're going to.
And then the domino effect,
Right.
you know.
So you've got this like nuclear thing. So you get it
so
out.
usually,
So what are you going to do with this?
CEO, management, middle management.
Just shit flows downhill, right?
Straight down.
Right, gravity. So it's not cool. Being a leader and a CEO of effective organizations doesn't mean you shit downhill, right?
Yeah. And by the way, you can't shit uphill.
Yeah, that's bloody hard.
Not in the
You're not allowed to.
corporate.
Not in the
corporate.
corporate. Yeah, it makes a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
So examples. Of, what do you get? How you've got this thing?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
So I've got my anger.
Pragmatically.
So I've got my anger.
Right.
I'm going to go to the gym.
Yeah.
I'm going to go swim. I'm going to go bush.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on the golf course. I'm going to get a punching bag.
Right.
I'm going to release it verbally.
Right.
Yeah. Because it has to come out of the body.
It's got to come out of the body.
It's got to come out.
Yeah.
So in the psychosomatic work, I'll say, where do you feel it?
Yeah.
And nearly always, 99% anger's in the guts.
Right.
Where do you feel it?
Right.
Because that's where anger, like it's the ball of stomach stuff. It's there. Okay. People can, paint it with colours and it's like red, black, it's zigzag. It's all the same.
Right.
100 art pieces of artwork, anger's 99% going to be the same.
Right.
Yeah. And then where do you feel it? And a great one, Tom, is this one is, if I was a Zulu and I didn't speak English and you had to express me with your hands in a sculpture form, can you show me what anger looks like? Yeah. So show me what it's like to feel angry. There you go, bang. That's universal.
Right.
It doesn't matter what language.
Interesting.
That's it.
The fists are up.
That's it.
Defense and the fists.
And it's tight and it's contractive. Now, let's go into the most prevalent cancer on the planet for men.
Yep.
It's prostate cancer. Right.
Yeah.
If you didn't speak English to me
and
I was a Zulu
and
you had to show me with your hands what it's like, maybe the feeling of prostate cancer, what do you think it'd feel like to have prostrate in your body? Yeah, bang, you're doing it. Bang, there it is.
Yeah.
Lift it up. Lift your hands up.
Right.
On the screen so people can see.
It's kind of
anger.
Right. Yeah.
So for me, prostrate from an emotional perspective is unresolved anger and trapped sexuality. Nearly every single time.
Right. So
it's
an
goes
energy
into the body.
It's an energy.
Goes into prostrate, which is the
stuck.
most sexual organ we've got.
Right.
So it's either sexual repression or it's anger, and
Right.
that energy goes in somewhere, and 90% of the time it goes into the prostrate.
Right.
That's why the prevalence of prostate cancer on the planet.
It's
It's diet as well.
look at his diet and there's pollution.
But from an emotional perspective,
right.
it's anger and repressed sexuality.
Right. Okay.
It does have dietary as well, but nearly always it's that emotional.
Yeah.
You talked about release.
Yeah.
It's unreleased emotion.
Right.
It goes in, goes in, goes in, goes in.
Right.
In the terms, if you want to keep your prostrate away from that, express, and start it going in.
So lots of sex.
Lots of sex.
Having sex at a regular time. They say it's about once a week for males.
Just
not too much because you can have too much.
This is where we totally disagree.
People may argue.
This is where totally disagree.
I'm totally on the same page, right?
Totally disagree.
But
whoever wrote those stats,
academic literature says, right? The research says.
You said it all about academic literature.
Academic literature.
Mate, you got to know it.
It's like being effed in the head.
You got to know it.
Right.
How much sex feels good for you?
Yeah.
What's the balance for you?
Well, hang on. There can be addiction too. There's an addiction.
Yeah,
there's
sex addiction
thing, right?
Sex addiction.
Yeah, it's like a glass of wine a day, depending on your genes and your epigenetic expression. Like a glass of red for me and my genes, I know, is actually kind of a good thing.
Yeah.
For other people, it's not.
the glass.
Yeah, it's a mother glass. It's a big glass. Right.
Backyard of ale.
It was one glass. I'm still trying to finish it. So, all right. So the expression piece. So getting it out. You can be doing exercise.
Yeah. Exercise every time.
I mean, what we're dealing with here is stresses on your system.
Yeah.
And they're either going to be coming from diet, the environment. The environment can be emotional environment. It can be the environment you've created from your head, right? The food, sleeping, stressed because you're not recovering. So it's not getting to recharge overnight. And there's so much upside in sleep. All these things will all amount to this energy. And hence we're talking about energy again, right? Frequency, and being able to get that energy flowing, getting the wrong or bad energy out. You got. It's all about managing energy.
It's like the M1.
Yeah.
When the traffic's flowing, it's great.
Right.
But when there's a blockage, right, everybody's affected.
There it is. Yeah. There's been an accident.
Yeah. Everybody's affected.
Right.
Yeah. Everybody on the highway.
Yeah.
and every cell in our body will be affected by the blockage.
Road rage.
So we keep the flow.
Yeah.
You know, like we keep the chi energy.
Yeah.
I mean, Chinese medicine.
Yeah.
You know, you look for the blockage.
Yeah.
Hiya, release, energy flow.
Right.
You know,
Acupuncture.
Yeah.
Right.
Cupping.
Reiki.
Right.
Keep
Keep the flow. Keep the flow. Keep
right.
the flow.
They're all sort of releasing these points.
Yeah.
The thing is, those things may come back again and again if you don't treat the higher level issue, which is emotion, the mental, spiritual side. It's from a quantum level point of view, it's sitting above maybe the third dimension, somewhere else. You can get the deeper stuff there. But wow, big topic.
Big socket, mate.
Right?
I love it. You know, like it's juicy.
It was a juicy one. I knew today when I was like grabbing a post to put in the Corporate Alchemist Project group. And reading through some stats and so on, going, this is going to be meatier. I knew that, right? But it's funny how much more meatier this one was compared to IQ last week.
Because we're stacking,
right?
You know, we've got a 4% IQ,
right? And
then let's say we got 26% EQ,
right?
So we're up to our sort of 30%,
yeah.
And then we add a bit of relationship,
yeah.
And then we have the spiritual on top of that,
so
which is
stacking it.
Unknown territory for many.
Yeah.
You know, like really.
It's just coming into RQ now.
Yeah.
You know, and the reconnecting with what's happened with COVID. You know, or some world event that's been, the most overused word right now, unprecedented. Along with pivoting, if you're a marketing person. Has got people to start to think about relationship quotient.
And of course, relationship IQ
IQ are pretty connected.
Right in that emotional space.
Yeah.
You know, because every time we're in a relationship, there's emotions.
Yeah.
I gave a workship on the weekend on love and hatred or self-hatred.
Yeah.
And sympathy and antipathy.
Yeah.
And for me, that's the relationship.
Right.
Sympathy and antipathy is 95%. 100% of all relationship is based on sympathy or antipathy.
Yeah.
I either sympathise and warm, or I'm in antipathy and I pull away.
So once again, it's energy, right? It's like how much energy for the force, the amplitude of a wave. It can be small, you can feel it a bit. It's the same sort of emotion, but then if it's big, right? So frequency and energy, which once again Einstein, said, and Tesla. Well, Tesla quoted Einstein. No, Einstein quoted Tesla, saying he was like the smartest man alive. You know,
and when we get it to harmonics, we get it to harmonic radiance, where music, you know, when the tones and we get that harmony, melody.
There we go.
You know, you get that perfection.
Yep.
You know, that's magic,
and that's why that can make people feel different too. You get energy, or you got a room of people, and they're you've been really shitty, and you've come into this beautiful energy space. There's music that's playing. There's not heavy metal or punk music, right? But it's more of
some punk, mate. It's
okay.
If you're in the same room with punk, then it's harmonious.
There we go.
As long as we're all jumping at the same moment.
Right. Yeah, okay.
God save the Queen.
Bring back Johnny Rotten. Yeah.
As long as we're on the same frequency,
Sid Vicious.
It's harmonious.
Yeah.
And that's why war. Right. Yeah. If we want to touch the subject, when everybody's in harmony in war, it's not really seen as war because everybody's in harmony. It's not conflict. Right. It's a vibration, and from an objective perspective, it's a war zone. But when everybody's in the same harmony, one has to question: are they in war? Are they in harmony?
Right.
The action is war.
Right.
But the relationship's harmony.
Right. But maybe it's not a good one.
Not a good one. Yeah. It's still harmony.
But it's still harmonizing.
Harmonious for that group.
Yeah.
And that's
you can have a bridge in the harmonics of the wind, and if they haven't done the testing properly and it picks up, it's not going to be a good harmony that's building up there.
And this is where that subconscious work happens with many leaders.
Yeah.
As long as they get brought into the harmony of the group, they can be led pretty unconsciously. Right. Because they're in the harmony of it. Right. They feel connected to it. Right. So people, if you take a negative group, whether it's a Nazi group or a group or into drug dealing, whatever, Hell's Angels or whatever. Yep. The harmony of the group in that brotherhood, in that space, for them, it's harmonious. It's hard to leave, right? Because they found a harmony, right? Feeling. This is where they feel team flow starts to come in. Yeah, they feel like they belong. Frequency connection, and they get in the zone of their thing, and they're doing it together. The 1 and 1 equals 3. That's huge, and that's where a bit like Cap TV, perfect harmony. Right, there we go. And this is a good sort of lead up, tee up for RQ, which is going to be next week.
But of course, we're going to talk a lot more about EQ on Friday.
Yes, we are.
Right, where we're going to be getting some great insights from yourself on EQ and emotional, mental, and spiritual side. Right, as we move from the psychology, always is going to connect in because that's the way in. Right, the psychological to the spiritualogical side. Right, latter part of the week.
Yeah, how do we bring that into the emotional?
So we're going to go deeper on that. Great topic. So I think just to kind of leave it here, there we are, Danielle. Emotion is not a sense. Feeling is.
Yes, well, that's exactly what I did say.
Yeah.
That we sense the feeling.
Yes.
And then we emote.
Emote. Yeah.
So yeah.
As I was saying before, energy, energy, emotion.
Yeah. We covered that before, where we said that. Yeah. I get the feeling in my body. Yep. And then from the feeling,
a state. Yeah. And then there's a
response.
And the response, an active, a move.
Yeah. My response to my feeling of sadness.
Yep.
Yeah. Is to express sadness.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel the sadness.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is usually from
a state. The other one's an action.
One's a state. I feel. Yeah. Which is sensory.
Yeah. Which is the emotion.
Yeah.
No, it's the feeling. It's the feeling.
And then the emotion is the emotive.
Right. How you're dealing
with it. Where I emote it.
You'll emote it.
Yeah. I let it go.
Energy,
I
emotion.
express it.
Energy, emotion.
Yeah. I express it.
Yeah.
So I express my feeling. Yep. It's called an emotion.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's pretty much Danielle. Yeah, you're right. You're spot on.
Yep.
We covered that where the feeling is internal.
Right. But we shouldn't be active. We've got to be thinking the stimulus and response. Yeah. The emotional response. Yeah. If it's a reaction, then that's going to work against you. If it's a response, as in it's actually the brain is engaged.
Yeah.
Let the stimulus and response. We've left space.
Or the response from a memory of knowing how to respond, or a response that doesn't have an old story.
Right.
Because if we naturally respond,
but it doesn't have an old negative story.
Yeah. So if we naturally respond, we will respond positively.
In a positive way.
The only time we ever respond negatively is because we have a story attached.
Right. It's like, you can be in a relationship and you will act a certain way, and with one partner, it'll trigger.
Totally.
Right. And another one, they go, it's like nothing.
Yeah. Because they don't have a story.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and one may interpret it differently. The other may go, oh, he's just being, or she's just being like this. That's okay. It's all right. The other one goes, right?
Because they have a story.
Because they have a story.
Yeah, they have a wound.
Yeah.
If we're clear about it, there's a wound.
Yeah.
And we have, unless we go and find some therapy or some way to remove the wounds, and I walk around with a wound, and Tommy comes along and says something about my shirt, and I've got an old story about not feeling good about my shirt, he's going to trigger that vibration into the memory of my old story.
Make the connection to the lizard brain.
And I can't even remember that story. It's so deep in my subconscious.
Right.
But my subconscious remembers it, not the present Adrian.
Right.
And then you go like,
and all of a sudden there's a feeling.
What's that about?
Yeah,
I just said that your loops on your shirts were a bit out of focus.
I thought you said.
Yeah, and I've gone, well, I thought you said you look terrible and you shouldn't have arrived on this party because you were the worst, best dressed in the room.
Or it was the way you said it.
Yeah, the intonation.
The intonation and the interpretation.
Yeah.
Connecting to
and the little grin that I
sarcasm. Made. I wasn't being sarcastic. Honestly, I was coming from a place of such and such.
But it doesn't know how much you say that.
Right.
My old defensive self.
That feeling's still going to be there.
You won't believe it.
Right. Yeah.
You won't, because that story's so.
Yeah.
And it might be part of my ID, where I've created an identity around that.
Right.
So there's no way in the world I want to let it go.
Yeah.
Because that's who I've become.
Yeah.
So the psychotherapeutic side of this, if we don't deal with the feelings and the emotions, is huge.
Yeah.
So
the right way.
Number one rule is, go and deal with your emotions.
Right. Yeah.
Get on top of the emotions.
Right.
Go and deal with every single emotion.
Yeah.
Basically, if you're triggered, I'd suggest go and sort it out.
Yeah.
No excuses.
You got it. Because the only one that's feeling it really is one that's feeling it.
Yeah. And guess where it's going to go, as we said, from a physiological.
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to have to go to the doctor and get it sorted.
Yeah.
And it might be too late.
Yeah.
Surgery, something removed, something fixed.
Yeah.
That's the lucky ones.
Right.
So, I reckon prevention.
Yeah.
Sort their bloody emotions out.
Yeah.
And don't let it get into the physical.
Yeah. So it could be even a friend or something, and you have that cathartic sort of expression to get it out to a friend.
Go get a mediator if you need to.
Or a mediator if you want to sort the situation out. But if you're looking to release and get it out, having a talk with someone that you trust, to just.
Because if you bottle, at some point the cork will pop.
Yeah.
Or it'll fester
in your body, or
it'll
fester.
It'll electrify. So Whoa!
Whoa.
Land.
Man, how are you feeling after that?
Emotional.
You're gonna cry. You're gonna cry.
Well, it's not hard not to cry.
No.
I wear it on my sleeve. As somebody saying, "Get off here! You've been on long enough." That was it.
Up the waves.
That was the executive producer saying, "Come on, guys."
That's it. I don't know. Perth was calling me.
Yeah, executive producer.
There we go. Yeah. Come on, guys, get off. All right.
Or maybe it's Perth.
Dude, it's an hour and 20. We're going to get off here.
Maybe it's Perth and the High Court.
Oh, hang on. Sorry. What do we got here? Don't want to take responsibility entirely for their dream. And I think what Deanna is saying, dream as a nightmare more so. So for their stuff.
Yeah. Because it's all about responsibility.
But that counts both ways.
It's all about responsibility.
Yeah.
And I cannot take responsibility for my emotions. Yeah. Particularly for my emotional outbursts,
right?
Or emotional bottling,
right? So here's another one though, because when people get armed with this new information, they go, "Oh, well, you're feeling it; it's your problem.
Yeah,
everything should be good now, right?"
Yeah, your stuff.
It's not quite the way it works. It's like logically great, but like you, and I was in trouble with that. It's like 20 years ago. It's like, hey, I'm good. It's your problem.
It's your stuff.
Yeah. Anyway,
so two sides of the equation.
Yeah.
The way it's delivered, and the way it's received. Always emotions. So what would be a smarter response for that? It's like, okay, we know that they're having the emotion and whatever. You're not going to go to your partner or someone you care about. Well, many people still do. Saying it's your problem, right? What's a better way to handle this? We need to talk about this. Right. We need to work out this because right now I'm feeling triggered.
You're feeling triggered.
Right now I'm feeling triggered.
This is like what's going on.
Yeah, I'm really feeling triggered right now, and I'd like to find out where my trigger is coming from. Yeah. Because I want to take responsibility for it. Right. And maybe you'd like to help me on that. Yeah. Right. Okay. Record that. Use that.
It's recorded. It's there.
Take responsibility. I'm being triggered. Yeah. And I'd like to get to the bottom of my trigger. Yeah. Would you like to help me? Yeah. Right. Can we go back into that previous situation to find out where my trigger was? Right. And then because I'm sensing what you said triggered me from an old experience of mine. So I'm not saying it's you, but I'm saying what you said triggered an old emotion. Right. And wouldn't it be wonderful for us in our relationship? Yeah. And we can do this when we talk about relationships next week a little bit more. Yeah. And then putting that on the table as a potential healing to stop any more of that conflict. Right. Takes a bit of vulnerability and courage to do that. Taking strategy, a bit of IQ. Yeah. Stretching yourself a little. Yeah. Do the IQ around it. Yeah. Get an agreement in place. Get some transcript in place. Get some script in place to say when this happens to us again. Quick one on this one. So one of my greatest tools, and I've just put another couple onto it, is one big challenge in relationships because of the ego is apologizing. Who's going to apologize first? Oh God, yeah. Who's going to give up ground? If you don't know that one, who's going to give up ground? Just stop listening. But I'm suggesting everybody has this one. Not going to give up my ego. Not going to give up ground. I'm going to have the last word. I was right. So what we do? I'm going to be righteous. You get a coin, and you have an agreement. You flip the coin. That you flip the coin, and one apologizes first, but the other has to apologize second. Pluck out the two-sided coin. Yeah. Heads over and tails you lose. It's been 10 times in a row. Right. Right. Yeah. And that simple act, make fun. But it puts it in the neutral zone, doesn't it? Totally, yeah. So you have and one of them, says, okay, we can't agree here. Our agreement is we're going to get the coin. Yeah. Heads or tails, heads. Right. I'm really sorry for what I did. Really. Full stop. Really, full stop. Really sorry. No buts. Right. No buts. Yeah. I did it because, because that's blame projection. Yeah. And then the others, I'm sorry too. Right. Yeah. Then if you take into another conversation. Part of the deal? That's part of the deal? Although that's written. That's a written agreement. The other one has to be sorry too. Yeah, totally. Right. Yeah. I have to apologise. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And it's a great little tool. Huh. So anyway, there's a nice little tool. What would you call it? Like the peace coin. It's like it's the apology coin. The apology coin. Yeah. Because then at that point, an apology has to come because otherwise you end up, 3 or 4 nights back to back. Nobody's talking. Yeah. Right. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of life. Waste of life. Waste of life. On earth. Yeah. Waste of life. So get the coin, flick, heads, tails. I'm sorry, move on. Go and have a glass of wine. Bad energy just doesn't work. No, but we feed on it.
Right. We feed on it, and then you can say, okay, well, it's an opportunity for growth. Yeah.
But get some tools.
If you want to,
get some strategies. Get a coin, have some script, and we'll work on that as we go through the emotional and spiritual intelligence of how to put all these things in place.
Sweet.
So Tom G.
Okay. Yep.
Final words to wrap up.
Final words. Thanks for
I'll let
asking.
you have the final word. Not very often. Not very often.
On that one.
Not very often. Final word.
Okay. So, final words. Look, if we're going to put this in a business context first, right? Being CAP, then IQ 20% for all you smart dudes out there that can be righteous and think you're logically correct. Well, right, 80% upside sitting in EQ. So all the stuff we just talked about in our longest joint one together, there's so much juicy stuff in this, right?
An hour and a half.
Right, hour and a friggin' half. 80% of leaders, the top leaders, 80% have their EQ under control. They're good at it, either because they haven't had some bad stuff that they've had to deal with, or they have dealt with it, right? And the thing is, they're taking responsibility, like you said, as I sort of surmise here. They're using that gap between stimulus and response, using some of the tools and techniques that you mentioned to be able to express, because you also don't want to leave it in, right? And even the flip the coin one, from a relationship point of view, and something more personal, and people that you love, right, tend to be the ones that you hurt most.
Could have one in the office, right? Tommy.
And even the office. There we go.
Yeah.
Right, as well. Yeah. So yeah, wow, it was big. It was big, Adrian.
Yeah. Good one.
All right, guys.
And thank you to StreamYard, for this
for our first one.
Multiple streaming.
This was fun. Fun, right? So, all right. And thank you to Deanna and Danielle, as we're learning to drive this thing that's bringing together all comments.
Yeah, thanks for the inputs, thanks for the comments. It makes it really live and engaging.
So, it does. And we will see you at the end of this week for EQ and spiritualogical.
We will, mate.
Emotional, mental, and spiritual. All right, guys. Catch you on the next one. Bye.